Okay, I think I got it working now, so let's try this again. F11. Motherfucker. I'm going to have to F5 this bitch. I mean, unless F5 doesn't work, there we go. Great. Nothing works. This has been a great start to r/Prorevenge. Okay, let's try this one more time. Excuse me, I'm dying. No, there. This is one of my fucking chocolate looks like. It's disgusting. Hold on, actually. Scene 3 really quick. Turn on my light. And let's just go ahead and put on a different hue. And then brightness all the way up. Yeah, beautiful. I'll also turn on my light in my room. Okay. How can I do this to where you can't see me, but I mean, y'all have seen me before, but yeah. Beautiful. Cameras over here. Yeah. It's put that down. And then we're gonna scene 3. Scene 3! Come on! Okay, here we go. Ex-girlfriend was a scammer, so I put her in the slammer. Bibbidi bobbidi boo. I destroyed her family too. Sorry about the length, but you need the details. TLDR at the end. Around the time that I got my first full-time job and finished college, I decided I was ready to venture out and start dating. I heard about this amazing app through a few of my coworkers. It's a little thing called Tinder. So I decided to give it a shot. After about a week on the app, I finally matched with a woman who we'll call Talia. Talia lived in a different city than I did, but the day we matched, she said she was visiting a cousin. We messaged through the app after verifying she was real through her Facebook and Instagram profiles. We exchanged phone numbers. She said she was employed full-time, had an apartment and her own car, and was somehow still single. We talked for about 2 weeks on the phone, always at night after my shift at work, before we finally had a chance to meet when our schedules matched up. I drove my beat-up 1996 Honda Civic to her town. Spent that Friday night, I forget where we ate that night, and in the morning we had breakfast at Waffle House. Talia did have her own apartment, however she lived next door to her grandmother, who I awkwardly had to meet the next morning. I learned from Talia that her car was actually in her grandmother's name and her apartment was in the name of her cousin. She went so far to show me the family portraits with her cousin to talk about her abusive ex, and even assured me how her laundry room was embarrassingly infested with flies and roaches. We officially changed our social media to dating that day. Keep in mind that this is my first relationship in almost 4 years, so I was excited. Now, the scam. Talia also told me that the day she had been fired from work about a week earlier, but was too embarrassed to tell me. I asked her how she kept up with all of her bills, and she said that her grandma and dad had been helping her. Talia asked if I could use her make her car payment, which was due that weekend. I refused. She then explains that she could get a payday loan, which is banned in our state, and could put it into my checking account. I felt uneasy about it and asked if there's another way she can get the loan. Talia said she couldn't use her grandma or dad's account because they had burned her in the past. I thought it was weird, but she started crying. So I called my bank for an account since high school graduation and opened a linked checking account. I gave Talia the new checking account number and routing number. Talia contacted a payday loan company in Alabama, and by Sunday morning she had the funds in my linked checking account. Per our agreement, I gave her the money. Talia promised to repay the loan within 2 weeks. I had my reservations but went back home and back to work Monday. Talia called me on Wednesday and said she had a new job. I asked if she had the payday loan squared away with her first paycheck. She said she did, but I still got charged $47 2 weeks after she set up the loan. I called Talia to verify the loan was going through her and terminate the charge from the payday loan as I was not the signed person. Talia and I agreed to meet Memorial Day weekend. 2 weeks later, she stated that her dad had given her a check for the entire loan amount, $1,800, and that she would deposit it in my bank near her. Like a fool, I let her deposit the check right before the Memorial Day weekend. 2 weeks later, the pay loan company charged another $47 plus penalty fees and another $47. The $1,800 check bounced. Talia stopped answering her calls and blocked me on everything. I called my bank and informed them that I was a victim of fraud. Within hours, my main checking account, into which my paycheck had gone, my savings account, which $800 saved for a new car, and the new checking accounts closed. My best friend from college, we'll call him Clark, found Talia had two of every social media account, the one she shared with me and the one which she had a boyfriend. Her cousin from her family photos was actually her boyfriend since high school. Talia was 22, 23. Her boyfriend, we'll call him Jason, was in prison, but from their social media posts, she was visiting once a month with me and had plans to marry him. I spent days trying to get back my accounts and my money. One of the representatives from my bank at Clark and my mom advised that I should press charges for fraud. My bank mailed me a copy of the bounce check for criminal investigation purposes and showed Jason's name and not Talia's father's name as the owner of the check. That's when I decided to get revenge. As mentioned before, Talia's apartment had minor infestation of roaches and flies in her laundry room. While I went through legal agencies to pursue pressing charges of forgery on the check, fraud, etc., I found the name and phone number of Talia's apartment complex. I left a message for the apartment complex management that Talia and her grandmother both had filthy apartments. Within a week, Clark showed me that Talia had posted a request for temporary housing for her and her grandma since her parents wouldn't let her move in. Talia's payday loan company began calling me, as Talia had given them my phone number instead of hers, and they had not received payment yet. I was still renewing my legal options at the time. One day, I answered notified the rep that Talia had fraudulently used my checking account. The rep who called me transferred me to the legal department, who was very interested. It turned out that Talia's grandmother and her father owed the payday company. It wasn't a lot separately, but the payday loan company had received enough evidence with my claim that Talia was the ringleader using her family's accounts. I turned over the evidence, including Talia's text messages promising to pay the copy of the bounce check and my bank statements. By the end of the year, Talia was arrested on several charges. Her grandmother and father were also arrested, but took pleas for lesser charges in exchange for turning over evidence on her. I didn't have to testify at the trial, but I kept it from her. Talia's grandmother had a minor heart attack when she was arrested and had a more significant one during the trial. I'm not sure if her grandma lived or died after the trial. Despite this, Talia went to prison for multiple counts and will serve more than a decade behind bars. Talia, my ex-girlfriend, was a piece of scum. She took and left me without a crumb. What is up with this person rhyming everything? Yeah, again, hope she's in prison and having fun. There's a metaphor for you. So, I hate people that do this using dating websites as scams. And, people are just fucking stupid. I don't get why they do that. So, let's go on to the next one. What? Oh, okay. Won't promote me for being a woman, prepare for company women. No, yeah, this is something we get a lot in, like, modern day workplaces. It's just that, again, just being a woman apparently makes you lesser to males, and that pisses me off, that our modern day civilization still thinks that man is the more entitled person, the better person. So, let's just get through this, and yeah. This isn't my story, but it's my mom. and boy is it long. My mom was fresh out of university looking for a company to put her through an accounting degree, CIMA. She got a job as a finance clerk at an industrial machinery company, and now they are having problems with her accounts for years. And my mom was more than willing to go through it all, sometimes working 70 hours a week to get through them. That's illegal due to working labor force laws. I rarely saw her as a child, but over the years I now know my mom is an ambitious woman and very passionate about what she does. Fast forward a few years and she has now gotten her CIMA qualification and has been promoted to Director of Finance. Hooray, where she has a few good people working for her. This is important. Skip a couple years and the company wanted to get rid of the Director of Service. Now being that she's worked on the accounts, she often pitched into what service was lacking. Now they could have declared her Director of Service/Finance. A little weird, but they couldn't get anyone else to cover as Director of Finance. Now, here's a story. There are 3 sectors within the company at the time, with 4 directors, sales and service. Now, the managing director's position has now opened up, and since my mom was running 2/3 of the company, she might as well run it all wrong. The first time she applied, the management from another branch of the company had told her word for word, "Don't be stupid. You're a woman." Now, my mom was shocked and pissed off. What really did it for her was that they were planning on hiring the director of sales. Some context. He is the worst human being on earth. Has fired a new mom fresh out of maternity and given the position to his mistress. Mom didn't have that, so the new mom worked under her. She knew she had to get out. Here comes the revenge time. She immediately set up job interviews and got a job in 3 days at a prestigious company that pays way more than the 2 jobs she was doing after they told her, "You can't quit. Nobody will hire that quickly. Think again, silly bollocks." Now, I mentioned that my mom has a few good people in accounting. My mom, for revenge, hires half of the accounting team from right under them by civilly mentioning to the new boss how professional they are. She also got to keep the company car, double her bonus, and severance pay since she threatened them with sexual discrimination with the job, while the company goes down in flames. Don't mess with a pissed off woman. I cannot tell you how true this is. Again, like I said before the story, sexual discrimination just fucking sucks. And yeah, now the world is slowly getting better with this, but we're still way behind. So let's see what other weird stories we can find. That doesn't sound too interesting. My teacher said I participate. So I'm trying to find it. It's beautiful and perfect. Okay, my teacher said I participate too much, and so I got her fired. So here's a little bit of context. I went to the same school from kindergarten to high school senior year. So I'm gonna guess this is somewhere in the UK, because we don't do that here in America. There are 3 systems for this: elementary, middle, and high. But in the UK, you have 2 things. Either one is optional. They're not optional. Like, there's 2 different types of schools, where there's primary school and there's a secondary school. Primary school is normally for 1 through 5th grade, or like kinder through 5th grade. But secondary school is 6th to 12. But then there's another type of school that I don't know what it's called, where you can do kinder to 12. I don't know if we have that here in America. I just know that they do, like, Europe and basically every other country outside of America, because we suck. And I use the metric system, not the imperial. So, yeah. So here we go. So I pretty much growing up looking at the same faces from other students and staff. It was a private school and the classes were quite small, so our interactions with the teachers was on a first-name basis. Being an involved student, I had a great relationship with most of them. This will be important later. Now, to the story. Second year of middle school, first day of classes. A new teacher's hired to give you an overall description of her. Just imagine Jabba the Hutt with small pointed glasses. As we entered the classroom, she continuously told us to be quiet. Mind you, the class hadn't even started. She introduced herself as someone who doesn't like music or children. I'm not kidding or exaggerating. She actually said that. She went over from the course material to the grading criteria. I honestly don't remember, but participation did not count. She starts teaching in my class. Low-key hates her. I didn't like her either, but I like learning. I participated quite often because A, I was actually curious about something, or B, nobody answered and wait time made me feel so uncomfortable to the point out I would cringe. I don't know why, but from the start she would mock my answers or my constant participation. Even my classmates who I didn't talk about called her out on this, and my friends straight up claimed she hated me. So, about 3 or 4 weeks into the semester, she asked a question to the class, and no one answers as usual. I raise my hand after 30 seconds of awkward silence. She says she says something along the lines of, "What a surprise." I felt a little offended, but didn't think much of it. She ignored me. No one else even was paying attention to her, so no reply. I understand that teachers want everyone to participate, but the way she dismissed me felt like an insult. Okay, wait, what? Okay, honey, we have heard too much from you already. Now, this doesn't sound as bad, but her tone was definitely mocking me. Oh, wait. Okay, honey, we have heard too much from you already. Jesus, what? That sounds like I'm doing an entitled parent episode. Now this doesn't sound as bad, but her tone was definitely mocking me. I was constantly called a nerd and stuff like that, and I was also told that I talked too much by other students. I also went Prorevenge on them later, but that's it. What? You were literally on Prorevenge. You need to tell us fucking pro. Her comments really hurt me. I decided to talk to her after class, set things straight and make good terms with her. I was in my desk position to sort things out, in the most polite way and respectful manner, why she didn't like me. I was so confused. I mean, she was the teacher. She also mentioned that I participated too much, and that my attitude was way too arrogant and that I shouldn't try too hard to prove myself. Class participation was not great, so I should just stop participating. Lastly, she called me out for being rude and disruptive in my class. I was confused. I was literally the only student that took her class seriously. I asked her what behavior was disruptive, and she said I was rude for the way I stared at her, and it distracted her. That was it. Being a troubled teenager, I decided to unleash my rage on her. Pro-revenge mode activated! Actually, I can probably say that way better. Pro-revenge mode activated. Yeah, I should stop. Part 1. Giving her my full attention. I started small. The next class I sat quietly on my desk. No stalking, no participating, no note-taking, just staring. I stared at her with murder eyes for the entire class. She would get so uncomfortable, she would turn her back to me. I would copy the notes after the class from a friend, so my whole attention was on her. I wasn't even bothered by the wait time. No one answered her questions, and I would just stare at her, thinking murder. After 1 week of this, I knew she regretted her words to me because she would call out my name, and so I would answer the question. When I gave no answer, she asked me if I was deaf. She would shout at me for not taking notes, and overall be so pissed at me. And I just stared. We had her class every day, so there was no escaping. Even in between classes, if I saw her anywhere in school, I would just stop everything that I was doing and just stare. She resisted 1 week, and I was called to the principal's office. Perfect. Part 2. Turning her own against her. As I mentioned earlier, I had a good relationship with the teachers, and I had learned that the other teachers didn't really like her. I would discreetly tell them that I didn't like her either because she was discouraged me, and I didn't like the way she spoke about her other teachers, which was true. She would constantly belittle other classes such as PE, chemistry, and math. Basically, anything that wasn't English was less important for her. I might have exaggerated some details, but most of what I said was true. This is when I found out that she would steal other teachers' coffee mugs and even sometimes their lunches. My words were like wood thrown into a fire. Part 3. Crocodile tears. A day or so after she told me she hated me I went into the counselor's office and cried. I think I mentioned this before, but I was a troubled teenager, and she had gained my trust. She also knew what type of student I was, so she was extremely concerned. When I told her what Miss Magdalena had said to me, and I thought I was so discouraged about thinking about changing schools. I cried for an hour straight, and once I was calmed down, I asked her for a confidentiality, which I don't know in other places, but in my school it is sacred if the student reaches out and requests help. I know she didn't like it, but she had to comply. I went about 3 or more times, describing every single thing she did to me. I exaggerated the details, but not enough for it to be unbelievable. Part 4. Oh, the great finale. I was called into the principal's office, who is like a second father to me. I walk into his office and I see him, Mrs. Magdalena, with a malicious smile on her face, my counselor and the department coordinator. I don't remember the exact conversation, but my principal explained that Mrs. Magdalena had reported me for bad behavior and bad academic standing. She said that if I kept this way, she would have no choice but to fail me. I knew she would be more than happy to fail me, but that staring really made her uncomfortable. When I asked what I had done, Miss Magdalena said that I did not work in class. My principal asked to see my notebook, and I showed to him every single exercise and irrelevant detail written down. My principal, they seemed to be complete. He raised an eyebrow in Miss Magdalena's way, who was shocked and annoyed. Was there anything else? She obviously didn't have anything else. She was counting on me not having my work, and apart from that, she had nothing. She still tried to add to the situation. Miss Magdalena, yes, she does not participate in class, and her behavior is disruptive. When she said those words, I saw my counselor lean towards me. My principal, regarding the grading criteria, participation is not included in the percentages. Mrs. Magdalena, red with frustration, she stares at me too much. All the time I kept quiet and with my eyes to the floor, as if I was genuinely scared and intimidated by her. My counselor, man, this is ridiculous. Okay, or wait, what? No, from now on, I'm going to refer as OKKD to M, because this is way too fucking long of a name to say. Dear, may I share what you told me? I nodded shyly and tried to make myself even look smaller. She told her everything that I had said and how bad it had affected me. I couldn't have been more satisfied with what she said, even if I gave her a monologue. It sounded as if I had been verbally abused and my mental health was at serious risk. My principal, is this true? I nodded and almost in a whisper said yes. My principal nodded and told me that I could leave. I left the office as I saw Miss Magdalena's face. She was so shocked I made eye contact with her on the way out, and I couldn't hide a smile. Only she saw it, and her face contorted with rage. You could literally see steam being puffed out of her ears and nostrils. I later found out that my principal and the teacher coordinator that they fired her because apparently I was not the only one who had complained. My classmates have been talking to other teachers about how she said she didn't like children or teachers, and she was not good at her job. The teachers had passed the commentary back to their supervisors because they were concerned. They also had reported her behavior as a co-worker and how she had a negative effect on the working environment. And TLDR, I like how the story ends. I never saw her again. With a little smiley face. So, that's gonna do it for this episode, because holy fuck, this episode's long. And, yeah. I will see you guys in the next one. Bye! Quick side note, guys, but I just found that it's not one school, but it's like 3. And if you guys have played BitLife, you've probably encountered this, but you have, 6 years of primary education, which is K through 5. 4 years of junior high school, which would be 6 through 9. Wait, no, 7 through... shit. Okay, 6 years primary education, so that's 6th grade, 4 years, you're in 10th grade, and 2 years of senior. And I'm gonna guess that those 2 years of senior high school would be like community college or something. But yeah. 6 years. So wait, so what? Do most people like graduate at like 15 in other countries besides America? Because in America we graduate at 18, but it appears that in other countries you would graduate at either 12 or 15. But 12 doesn't seem right, so I'm just gonna go with 15. Hold on. Yeah, what age do you graduate school in the UK? 16. Okay, there we go. Wait, what? Okay, so some schools will graduate them at 18, but most of them will graduate children at ages 11 to 16. Not gonna lie, I kind of want to move to the UK or Britain. Wait. Yeah, hold on. What is year 13 in the UK? In New Zealand, year 13 is the second year of post-compulsory education. 16.5 and 18. Year 13 is pupils in the seventh form. We study towards NCA level 3. Okay, so basically, you have a much better education in the UK other than the US. Okay, that ends our side note. Bye.